Alright, response video on the 3-question thing, and to the first series of 3 questions. Not really much to see in the video, but you'll have to do. So yeah, this guy, Pronoun Pigglet, thank you for responding. So apparently I wasn't very aggressive in announcing the point or process of this idea, but the idea is, he points out how there's 4 questions. Well, I said that you ask 4 questions and your person can choose to answer any 3 of them in their response video. And also the idea is that you ask an additional 3 questions. That's sort of the idea. So a little bit technical difficulty here, I think. Stay. Haven't quite perfected the process yet. Anyway, yeah, so we'll play where he starts getting to the question. So this is the first question about living without any kind of sexual gratification or interest, and living an average life. And I'd say that I have there's lots of side subjects this relates to, just stuff going on in my own brain, is I didn't realize how just because of some recent circumstances, this feral abandoned pet problem in the world, and that this has really become some sort of popular thing, to have no-kill shelters. The idea is they put the animal through the process of getting fixed or sterilized, and then they throw them back on the street. And it's, in my opinion, just insidious to do that to an animal, just because they don't have much to live for. And especially don't have much to live for as wild animals in nature. I mean, their lifespan isn't going to be very long, and they're probably going to meet some kind of horrible traffic accident kind of death, and it just seems insidiously cruel. But anyway, and just the idea of living the average person's life is kind of a bit frightening, but to do so without even the idea of the sense of getting that is involved with sexual gratification, even when it's self-imposed, it's still a gratification. Just seems like, what's the joy in life then? It's just doing your work and dying? I mean, fuck. I mean, it just seems like a trail of tears, for nothing. So the fact that people would see some purpose in, yes, sign me up. I wish to live as a board member in a complete sense, where I don't get anything out of this except some stupid candy bars, maybe. But anyway, that's how I look at it. I mean, life is hideous enough, but without sex, it's just totally, I can't find any ability to understand it without that. I mean, it's stupid, but I mean, it's really stupid, without the interest provoked by sexual interest. Yeah, well, that didn't start. Still not starting. Hello?
I'm going for yes. I guess it would be a lot better to live life as a asexual.
Well, it really wasn't the. Well, I guess asexual would be. Yeah. I mean, sometimes people use asexual to say, not particular in your sexuality. But yes, asexual, I guess, would be unsexual. Yeah, I just don't see how that's. I mean, psychologically, I just don't see how life would be more tolerable when you have to exist in the bleak garden of no flowers.
There's a lot less distractions, and you can spend time doing stuff that might be more important than masturbating. Not.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say in a way is that everything you do is a kind of working up to foreplay for your masturbation. So I'd say that all the competitive things we involve ourselves in, the rewards of accomplishment and ego gratification, in some way aggrandizes our sense of I'm somebody. I'm you know. I just think that is part of our psychology, and certainly part of the sense of vanity that would be related to ideas of sex. Like you're worthy. Even if you're not getting sex, the idea of feeling worthy of it is maybe part of the psychology. So I'd almost argue that if you're doing something productive in the world, you're likely doing it to make yourself more sexually appealing, strangely.
The it don't inherently make me spend my time better, but it's one less time wasted.
Yeah, see, like, time wasted, again, that's kind of a tricky way of putting it, just because it's I would argue that it's a peak experience, and so you can hardly call the foreplay to the peak experience wasted time, I guess. And in the only sense I would call it wasted is if all you're going to do is live as an obligatory servant to the problems created by the living things. So if that's, I clearly would argue that's living a good, productive life under the circumstances we exist in. But I don't think I would volunteer to live some average life that isn't going to save the world without that kind of gratification, that kind of peak experience.
Nice feeling of deprivation that I can experience. So yeah, take away that. The only disadvantage I think to that would be for an asexual person is kind of like we live in a culture where sexuality is the normal, and it might be harder to relate to other people, get on with other people, but in the grand scheme of things, does that really matter?
Yeah, I don't know if it matters or not. I guess I would argue that it wouldn't, but I'm just not sure. Like I said, that so much of our competitive nature is built around this idea of being worthy, of being attractive, being desirable for some reason, being I can't think of a better word than worthy at the moment. That's not quite the word I'm looking for. And that is just so tied to this, to this sexual element of our psychology, that I would just think that, again, it just seems like you're just sentencing yourself to a kind of dronish, tedious slavery to, tepid passion.
Not really. Question 2. When taking a risk with someone else's welfare, how much self-interest should be allowed to pollute the decision? So it's talking about kind of like self-interest in choices you make, decisions you make in life. For example, reproducing, that would obviously gambling on someone else's welfare and basically playing God by procreating, obviously.
Yeah, so we tend to agree on this, so that's good. That that this subject is sort of related to the question regarding the perception that not being a life lover is somehow a broken psychology, and that we should force people to become happy citizens, of our wonderful civilization. and because they're obviously crazy if they just don't see the magic of it all. And so this sort of relates, I guess, in the sense that we have this idea that, logically it makes sense that you don't go around drawing straws for other people. You don't impose risk. You don't drink and drive. These basic things where you have to be considerate of the fact that you make decisions that will affect other people, and when you're doing that, you have a heightened responsibility to be acting in their interest, not your interest. And it seems in principle unescapable that any self-interest is corrosive to your obligation. I mean, to fulfill your obligation, you essentially have to do what's in their best interest, not what's in your best interest when you're assigning a risk. Seems to me that's logically inescapable.
But, yeah, I really don't think there should be much self-interest with any decision. The decision should be based on which one's going to cause the least harm, who's going to have the most benefit.
Well, again, you have to be more specific, like, yes, least harm, most benefit to the person who you are putting at risk. And the risk has to be for their benefit, not your benefit. Yeah, I don't know, it looks a little crooked to me. You have to fiddle with this thing. Yes, right. Anyway, so I think that's enough of this one. I'm gonna, whatever his name is, Crazy Pants made a response. I mean, I appreciate it, but this guy's a little bit crazy. So anyway, so we'll see what he has to say, but I'm not too optimistic. Bring him down a little bit. So this might be painful. Maybe. Yeah, this thing moves. That's the problem. Slowly it turns. And step by step it screws it up.
Okay, this will be a better video response to Amanda Ham. The first one I took down because of major complications with interruptions during the process of doing the video, and the algorithms of YouTube in of itself.
Yeah, the algorithms of YouTube really get in the way. Anyway, it's kind of hilarious. But anyway, nice hat.
Of the sidebar and how it suggests videos to watch. But the first question is, would you want to live a life without the desire to have sex or the ability to masturbate? Sex in of itself is a frequent and occurrent thing. It happens often, especially with couples that are in an intimate relationship.
Yeah, we all know that. You're supposed to get to the root of the question is, would you want to live a life that wasn't, that didn't involve any aspect of sexuality?
So, to exclude that, you bring it down to the singularity level of an individual. But see, the individual in of itself, it depends what the situation is that they find themselves in.
Again, you're sort of missing the point of the question. It's a kind of a simple question. Would you want to live as an organism, okay, that didn't have the motivations and the passions and the pleasures of sexual gratification?
Are they trying to raise money by posting videos online masturbating? Or, with the dildo is still masturbating.
You're not even close to the subject. I'm sorry, not even close. I mean, I didn't think the question was that complicated. would you want to live a life? Would you say you die tomorrow and the God says to you, well, look, you can live again, but you won't have any sex, any sexual desire, anything to do with sex, just totally, you have no opinion, no interest. That's all. Simple question. You'll never know the feeling, the sensuality.
But for me personally, as I get older, I find it less interesting. Question number 2.
Yeah, that just doesn't answer the question. Less interesting. Okay, so, and would you want to live as a whole life as an older person who doesn't find it interesting? I guess is the question then. But again, that's built on then you already have a life of distractions and commitments that keep you attached to living, a sense of identity. Well, again, I don't think you answered the question.
Taking a risk with somebody else's welfare, how much self-interest should be allowed to pollute the decision? Self-interest. Well, I'm not taking a risk with somebody else's welfare on a constant and frequent level. It's basically...
Well, you are, you just don't think about it. But I mean, every time you go outside, you're playing with other people's welfare in the sense that you could distract them from driving properly, or you could do something else because of something you do. So there's actions all the time that are, in a sense, imposing risk on other people. I mean, it's another evasion. I guess you're just going to try to evade the questions instead of answering them. So, I don't take any risk. Well, you do, but whatever.
As a needs-be situation, I need to go to the grocery store, so I call up my buddy, said, look, we need to go grocery shopping because I don't drive, I lost my license and all that jive. But to put him at risk of getting into an accident, that's criminal standards, because it's a short distance and everything from point A to point B, and point B to point C, and point C to point D.
Yeah, well, again, you're sort of just evading the question. You're obviously aware of the fact that there is a risk, but it's unfortunate that you have you don't really have a choice. You have to impose some risk to be able to sustain yourself. So I wasn't arguing about the risks that are necessary to your survival. I'm arguing about the risks that are imposed where you have the discretion not to impose the risk. If you had the power not to impose a risk rather than to impose a risk, would you bother imposing the risk? Sort of.
It's relatively short distance. So I'm not putting people in jeopardy or anything like that. Number 3, should society force people to want to live? Anti-rights to die. Well, wanting to live is a personal choice. Wanting to die is a personal choice. Now, they're both similar but quite different, all in the same. For those that want to die, the question is, why are they experiencing these negative thoughts and perceptions? And,
No, I mean, the question is one of them requires a minor bit of technology to do gracefully. So we obviously as a society don't give people the right to commit suicide in a manner that is rational. We allow them to commit irrational suicide, that is, perpetrate a violence against themselves, but we don't allow them to commit rational suicide because we think that somehow they need to be reformed, or that their decision needs to be corrected. And so you're really not getting to the point of the question.
The agent from the institution or affiliation of some type of branch of government wants to know what the person is experiencing and may commit that person, because to a psychiatric hospital because of wanting to die. So if you want to die, I suggest not. And to change your perceptions.
Well, whatever. Again, so you're not justifying why you have a right to tell somebody else that living is a good idea. Why is it? Why is your opinion better than their opinion? Why do you what do you authorize your pro-life statement with? What defense do you have for it besides, well, that's what people think? Besides saying something stupid like God says so or the majority says so, what's your rational argument defending the idea that people should live? It's the right thing to do. How do you know it's the right thing to do? What guides your judgment in imposing your judgment on them? Not only imposing your judgment on them, but why do you think your judgment is right?
Because it's your behavior, it's your self-esteem. So basically, it's in a soft approach of force that I'm taking stand on this ground. And
well, whatever. This is just, gently murdering. No, sorry, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, you're not defending either thing. You're not defending where your judgment gains any qualification, nor are you defending why your judgment is better. Yeah.
And society in of itself, just at the institutional level, at the agency level, they want people to live long and prosper. And, because it's all about the national interest.
Well, I'm just saying that obviously philosophy is not about the national interest, whatever that would be described as, and it's a philosophical question. It's not a political one.
When you really look about it. I'm going to add this in as a bonus factor. I mean, he said 3 questions, answer 3 questions out of 4. But since I have a lot of time and everything like that, I'm going to delve into this one because this one is very intriguing in of itself. Why is it not okay to inherit the biggest prices in life, ownership of economy, business, luxuries, etc., and yet we have to earn a $10 salary increase, but we don't have to earn $10 billion. This is by Pronoun Pigglet. He put this up there, so it might be a little bit different than what Mindahan actually said for his question, as a paraphrase. But, the CEOs of these corporations and everything like that, and
really not talking about the CEOs. I mean, obviously they're one tiny piece of the entitlement class, but at least they're going to work. I'm talking about the owners who do nothing, the spawn of the Trumpies and stuff. They didn't earn it. Trump didn't earn it. Okay? It was bestowed for no accomplishment. Gold medals for not even practicing day one. No effort required.
Even too, when you look at how big corporations pay these hefty fines and all of that, that's the people's money. That's the people's money that invested in the companies by buying.
Yeah, again, you're really just not getting it. The people's money. Most of the people who own the corporations and own the stock didn't earn it. It's not the people's money. It's the privileged 0.01% who own a preposterous disproportion of our economy. They're effectively royalty. Why is royalty a good idea? Is the rudimentary question. Why are we still living in a monarchy?
stock or putting deposits in the bank or the institution or branch. Now, I'd like to make some serious money, but in reality and retrospect, that's not...
Again, we're not talking about making money. We're talking about inheriting money. And we're not talking about inheriting $50. We're not even talking about inheriting a $500,000 house. We're talking about inheriting ownership of most of the economy.
Not going to happen. So I have to eat my morsels and little tidbits that are given to me. Now, why is it not okay? So that would mean...
Well, it's a whole nother subject, but it's probably a worthy question for another question to ask, is you can really see the insanity of the system where somebody who, like yourself, appears to be disabled, in a substantive way. You're okay, but you're living, but life is hard, and you don't have the skills or the ability to seize the day in terms of the economy. You're not going to be the CEO, and you're not going to be a lot of things. And why do we think it's okay to sentence somebody to a life of a meager existence because they had the misfortune of having some kind of accident that crippled their functionality in some way? How do we ethically make sense out of that in the context of a world where we give so much to so few for doing so little?
That the person is not going to be super rich through the falling out of a vagina factor that Minderham uses of the upper class, because it's through the inheritance factor that they receive such bountiful, plentiful nourishments in a great, vast abundance.
Yes. Well, you've learned some Mendyisms pretty good. But yeah, that's a problem, and the question is, why aren't there more people? Why is it only in Mendham, pretty much, pointing out how this is so fundamentally corrosive to anything like a fair civilization, that you can't really have civilization under these rules where 90% of the rewards have already been given away, and we're going to earn the 6.9 billion of us out of the 7 billion are going to be fighting over the 10% left over. And if you're going to start playing a game that stupid, why would you defend playing the game? I mean, there's a million things that are wrong, and these are huge, catastrophic failures of civilization, and yet people are still going to say, life's good. No, life is stupid, especially under these rules.
Now, how can you become a part of this to receive a percentage of more than what you're actually earning per year? I would say like at least a 25% increase of a fold. It's like meeting the right person.
You really are mirandering a bit.
At the right time, at the right place. And having that characteristical, charismatical persona of a, your karma radiates so abundantly that.
Yeah, what is it? You really have lost, just kind of fell right off the rails there, right? You're just choo-choo training, right through somebody's backyard. I don't know whose, but
the person falls head over heels in love with you, and or because well, back to the first question: are you good in bed? That only lasts for a fleeting moment.
Yeah, the point is, though, it's one hell of a spectacular moment. Alright, he's just really not on the subject, so I think he does ask some questions in here. Let me just see how long this video is. Oh, we're almost done. It appears we're almost done.
Sometimes it's a one-night stand, but you want to partake in prolonging the endeavor of.
Yes, well, memories are really good for that. You can you can remember. Oh yeah, I'll rerun that movie. I think I'll wear that movie out.
An adventure with somebody who is super rich, super famous, yada yada yada.
Yeah, the question really wasn't, are the rich and famous fuckable? That's just not the question. It's whether they're fucking our civilization is the question.
So that should cover it for now. Finally, got it done right.
Okay, well, I guess I has provided some questions, so I will, at some future time, answer his questions, I suppose. Well, I'll go find them now. I mean, I have this set up for the other video format, so we'll just have to go back. And,
okay, this will be a better video response to him in the hand.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of happy I missed the first version, I guess. But anyway, so his 4 questions are, so the other thing is I put the date in the title, so when you respond to questions from a particular date, put the date in of the date you're responding to, and if you do as the rules imply, that you should ask 4 questions, you should also put the date of the day you're asking the questions. And so yes, some of those dates will have crossover between people, but it'll at least give us some way to keep track of what questions are being answered when. Obviously somebody could answer the first questions 2 months from now, so that's kind of why I want to use these and do it with this number system, year. I hope I did that right. I might have put 16 in my damn video, right? 17, you have to fix that. The year, then the month, and then the day. 6 numbers. Alright, anyway, what good can Donald Trump bring to America? No, there's no good. It's all a downside. It's humiliating. It's like, what good can it do you to shit your pants, in Times Square or something? There's just no good about it. It's just going to be an unpleasant, humiliating, degrading, unfortunately stinky and smelly mess. And that's what Donald Trump as president is going to be. It's just going to be a disgraceful, disgusting example of how we're just too fucking stupid. We don't deserve any civilization. Because we're almost... This is like being a cutter or something. I mean, this is like just demonstrating that America is now cutting itself. It's America's got some deep, hard psychological problems. How far would you go in humiliating someone for an action they did? Well, I think humiliation is obviously, I think it's a very good way to teach people right and wrong. So, I think I have learned more from my humiliating moments than from any moments I've had in my life, probably. I mean, learned certain things just about being a civilized and decent. And some of that humiliation was in times when I was attempting to maybe humiliate somebody else and it backfired or something like that. Especially in my younger days when I wasn't a very professional humiliator. So I failed. And failing at humiliating is really humiliating. Anyway, how would you promote your videos outside of the internet? Well, in a way, I don't. Promoting is evil, in my opinion. I mean, we really shouldn't have to promote. We should be able to tag and label and organize content in the world. Everything should have, a barcode. Everything should have a scannable data connected to it, and we should all just be able to search and find things that are relevant and meaningful, and have accurate rating system. Unlike now commerce is just getting kind of broken because all the ratings are fixed and the reviews are cheats, and it's unfortunately there's just too many liars allowed to break the system. So you need a system of some kind of integrity where lying is discouraged and humiliated. Liars are humiliated. We need a law. Freedom to humiliate liars. Anyway, do you think that humans have potential to become better at doing things over a period of time? Well, man, that is just one weird-ass question. And they become worse at other things. So, in a sense, a reverence for your name, and having integrity, not humiliating your family. These things in the past meant a lot more than they mean now, and that's why people can be such assholes, is because their family won't be ruined, and there's less at stake in terms of the price you pay for such humiliations. It's like Brett Keane is the perfect example, just showing how it doesn't matter. It's like the Jesus thing. Just sin forever. It doesn't matter. Just keep saying, whoops, whoops, whoops. Accidentally on purpose. Yeah. Because, so obviously some things we have learned, like, can't think of anything offhand, and, something, I'm trying to think of something significant. I guess we've learned how to make some regulations efficient, keep water clean, keep the air a little better, do certain things a little better. But other things, the failure is getting worse, not better. Electing a simpleton as president was, it's pretty big evidence of not learning. You go from actor to, well, all the entitlement types. And, well, anyway, I don't know, won't make that isn't even the profile. But it's just this profile of simplicity. Simple answers to complex problems. Really a bad idea. Anyway, so thank you, Kenneth. But you are a little bit, a little bit out there, buddy. So anyway, appreciate the effort. But yeah, well, that's all I can. Yeah, what am I gonna say? He tries, right? And trying it's important to try. So. And such. So anyway, till the next video, and we'll see how this goes.